All right. Good day. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another Live the Fuel show. I'm excited, as I always say when I launch a new episode, because I just got back. I'm going to timestamp this a little bit. We are in 2025. My wife and I just got back from our skiing vacation. We always take multiple a year. Heli skiing up in, shout out to British Columbia. The Canadians know how to live, man. Beautiful mountains and lots of steak. Because that's how I roll on vacation or every day of my life. And that's kind of a theme we're going to start off today's show with today, because there's a new guest co-host coming on, and I've been following her for a little while, and she's well connected to other people of my circle of trust that I follow nutritionally, health. I like to nowadays, thanks to a few scientists I've had on here, I like to call myself my own N1 experiment, since we're still trying to get more and more documented studies on my lifestyle choices, aka I love meat. Ergo, anybody watching the video on YouTube, you'll see I'll be rocking a Body by Bacon shirt. And today's guest co-host, she knows a little bit about steak, butter, all things red meat. And it's a big part of her brand. And there's a lot more about her. And hint, hint, Juilliard school, like pianos and amazing musicians. I have none of that skills whatsoever. We're going to get into her background and more, because you're going to follow her on Instagram and everywhere else when you're done with this show, if you're not already. So, founder of the Steak and Butter Gang, again, Juilliard pianist, Bella, Steak and Butter Gal. I mean, what's up? Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for that intro. It is seriously a pleasure to be here. I can't wait to chat all things health, steak, butter.
Yes, and thank you for starting with health. That's why the tagline of the show is "We Fuel Your Health, Business, and Lifestyle." I've had authors and fellow entrepreneurs on the show over the years, because I decided when I created my brand and what I wanted to stand for, that health in the big picture scheme of things should come first, you would think.
Agreed.
I did this. It's a big part of my own success personally, professionally, and beyond.
Yeah.
What do you think? I mean, is there something crazy about putting health first in our lives?
Not at all. I love saying health is the ultimate wealth.
Mm.
There's nothing more important than health. And I'll just start off with sharing that my dad, about 7 years ago, was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And I feel like you really understand how important and valuable good health is when somebody that you love, someone in your family or in your friend circle, is diagnosed with something that serious. It really puts everything into perspective. So after that diagnosis with my dad, I prioritize health beyond everything else: work, fun times, family. Like, my own health is of utmost priority if I want to treat my family the best that I can, if I want to be the best mom that I can be, which I hope to be a mom soon. Just got married. So, health is.
Congratulations again.
Thank you so much. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So it's fun, I guess, I don't do it at your level. Again, what are you up to now on Instagram? 436,000 followers. So clearly people like you, or at least cannot get enough of your updates. So let's dive into that pancreatic cancer thing, because
Yeah.
I'm what people say, I'm pretty lean, or I would like to say the way we all looked 40, 50 years ago, 60 years ago. Lean and trim, just a hair under 6'4", grew up on a farm. Kind of went back in time in my adult years now, because I'm 47 here as of 2025. I'll be 48 before the end of the year. And I would like to say that I'm doing pretty good. But then people see my posts about, especially when I have double steak night. Oof. I mean, let's pause on that. Double ribeye? I mean, bathed in butter? I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
A double ribeye is my dinner every night. And most of the nights, it's a triple ribeye. So I eat more than any person that I sit down with.
Well,
Okay.
okay. So people haven't physically or visually, let's say, followed you yet. Again, Steak and Butter Gal is on Instagram, just as one of her main feeds. How tall are you? You're tall for a girl, because my wife is only 5'4", so I basically got her by a foot. And she goes, "Well, you're just freakishly tall." And I'm like, "Okay, there's people way taller than I am."
You're very tall. I'm
Okay.
5'10", which is very tall for specifically Asian women. Okay. And I will share that people who meet me in person after following me for even just a week, they meet me in person, and usually the first thing they say to me is, "Oh my gosh, you are way taller than I thought you would be." And I've learned that maybe in videos, the way that I film, I do come off short, I think.
Yes.
So that initial startling impression is, wow, I'm very, very tall. But I'm 5'10", and my mom 5'10", my dad is 6 foot. My mom was a basketball player. So
Hmm.
I don't know if that can be brought down, like just an athletic, strong metabolism, but I have always eaten a ton of food.
Oh yeah. Well, I've definitely, I kind of hint at that to people too. I'm like, one, we can get into the science if we wanted to. You can't overeat. I feel on the carnivore way of life, or if you want to let's recognize a lot of people out there, right? Because I've gone through all the transitions. Keto carnivore. I think I saw somebody was tagging you recently, and they were saying, "Hey, I did my dirty carnivore." I'm
Yeah.
not sure what that one is. I'm very familiar with dirty keto because my former client
Oh,
and a good buddy of mine, I'm sure you know Vinny Twitterich. Um,
yeah.
he and I go way back. I helped him run his first crowdfunding campaign to get his first documentary out there. So obviously his last most recent documentary film was Dirty Keto. And
Mm.
actually, that reminds me, I got to text him because he's
Yeah.
overdue to get on the show too.
Oh,
That
nice.
being said, it's people are like, oh, well, you're just eating meat all the time.
Yeah.
I don't understand. And I said, well, that's why I joke around about the N1 thing. And I got that
Mhm.
from Dr. Anthony J has been on the show many times,
Oh,
and I'm
nice.
sure you've heard of him as well.
Yes.
Genius on educating us with his book through the influence of plastics and hormone influence on our life. But I remind people that I'm like, guys, okay, so I'm aging and I'm still lean, trim, strong, have my own quote, I guess you can call it CrossFit's just a brand, but I have my own functional gym that I built out in my barn at this house that we got 3.5 years ago. I spent years in and out of the health and fitness space just because it was part of my fun. It was always my side hustle or my side job because I love learning things and I love seeing the before and afters.
Mm.
And there's not much of a before for me. People just see, oh, well, and you'll appreciate this being tall for an Asian woman, as you just said.
Yes.
Um, well, it's got to be in your genetics. And
Right,
I said,
right.
okay, well, and I had a little bit of a healthy debate on this with my wife last night because cancer came up. And she's like, oh, well, it's not running in my family. And I'm like, doesn't mean it can't start with you. And very healthy debate. And then my family, no history of heart disease, no history of diabetes. My dad
Mm.
became a type 2 diabetic over 10 years ago. We grew
Wow.
up on the same farm. There was no lineage, no genetic history. His father didn't have it. My mother's father didn't have it. So it was like, and now there's all this studies of epigenetics and how
Mhm.
we can actually nowadays, in a good way or a bad way, reprogram what we're passing on to the children, as you're hinting, hopefully in your healthy
Yes,
future as well. So how do you want to tag in on that, being a healthy, fit woman trying to figure out things in life?
absolutely. So, well, I look at my parents, right? And I feel like I do have good genes from my parents because both of them are tall, like much taller than most Chinese people. And I feel like my mom is pretty health conscious in the way that she eats and the way that she raised us. But I've seen convenience usually trumps everything when you are a busy mom raising four kids alone in America, a country that you have no idea, like you're just not familiar with. My mom to this day still does not speak English, so I could understand how difficult it was for her to get around raising four kids. My dad was in China with his job, so he had to stay in China for that.
Wow.
And yeah, so a lot of the meals I remember clearly when my mom was driving us all over the place and she had us mostly focus in arts. She was a basketball player, and maybe for some reason, through her experience doing sports, she saw a lot of things that she didn't want her daughters to do.
Hmm.
Um, so she had us in arts, and we literally had full days from morning, school, after school, up until evening. We are doing all of the after school activities, painting, violin, piano, singing, acting. And so a lot of the meals that she would feed us were Burger King, McDonald's, Pizza Hut, Taco Bell. And so even though I had good genes, I think a lot of the reason why I had cystic acne, psoriasis, eczema, I ended up losing my period was absolutely because of what I was eating day after day, year after year, decade after decade. I then ended up stumbling into a vegan diet, which didn't help my health at all, you know? And
But you were trying to
yeah,
find a healthy path, right?
exactly. All I was searching for was to feel good, to be healthy, and as a young woman, to look good. That was a top priority for me. And also as a pianist, I needed to fit in concert dresses. I did kind of have to care about how I looked on stage, and I was gaining a lot of weight in high school. So, how I stumbled across the vegan diet was I was gaining the freshman 15. My concert dresses were fitting tighter and tighter and tighter. Didn't want my mom to be upset. So I
Quick
searched on
pause.
the internet. Yeah.
Quick pause. For people who haven't listened to the show a long time,
Yeah.
we did hint on the freshman 15 years
Oh,
back with Vinny on the show because we kind of I mean, he's Mr. No Sugar No Grains. He owns and trademark
yes.
NSNG. So that's the pounds, ladies and gentlemen. If you're not following along with that, that's that. Which again, I guess guys can get it too, but not.
Okay.
Maybe it's the freshman 10 or
Maybe. Yeah.
yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
With
yeah.
the ladies in high school, the hormones are developing. We're getting our periods for the first time. So, freshman 15 is, I would say, the minimum that I saw my high school girlfriends were gaining.
Hmm.
I certainly was gaining that freshman 15 quickly. Um, and so I desperately searched on the internet, how do I lose weight fast? And what popped up was Freely the Banana Girl. Do you know her? Have you come across
Oh
her?
my God, I haven't thought about that person in a while. I
Right.
how did that person pop into my feed years ago? I mean, probably Instagram or something. I don't even know, but I remember the Banana Girl. Is that Banana
Yeah.
Girl still around? I don't even
She
know.
sure is.
Oh,
She sure
okay,
is. Yeah.
okay.
Because I always give her props for having me start the vegan diet. I did, search her up recently. She is still around, still touting her vegan diet. Raw till 4 p.m. was what I did. So raw till 4 is you eat raw fruits the
I
moment
just
you
learned
wake
something
up.
new. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Raw till 4. Okay,
Raw
that was a
till 4.
slogan.
Yes, was her program that she was teaching back then. This is like, I don't know, like 12 years ago.
Hmm.
Um, raw till 4, raw fruits and veg, 4 p.m. hits, you get to eat cooked starches. So that's what I did. I ate so much rice after 4 p.m., so many sweet potatoes. And look, I actually lost a lot of weight initially. But like I shared, I was going from Burger King, Taco Bell,
Hmm.
Pizza Hut to a vegan diet, whole foods plant-based. Of course, I'm going.
Any lifestyle change would
Anybody
have
would.
helped.
Exactly. Yes. So I was starting from a very dirty diet, and I saw that quick weight loss as like, oh my gosh, this is the miracle diet, miracle cure. And I was so impressed that I told myself, vegan diet is absolutely the best diet. I'm going to stick to this for as long as I need to.
So you didn't have the common skipping where you got, well, I'll try the pescatarian thing or I'll do the vegetarian thing. You just went
Oh, I
right into the
literally
veganism. Okay.
right
Okay.
there. Yeah.
That's a leap.
And
Yeah.
it is a leap, and you'll see a pattern because after 6 years of vegan, I leaped into carnivore overnight
Which you've now been actually you've hit 6, right?
for 6 years now.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So 6 one way, 6 completely the other
Yes.
way. Clearly happier now.
Oh, 100%. Like so much happier and healthier.
So in part of your background is the autoimmune thing. You kind of just bounced in and out there hormonally. And I know obviously, wait, are they married now? Is Chafee married or just engaged?
They're engaged.
Okay. All right. I wasn't sure. I was like, wait, did they get married too? Was it a double wedding?
No.
So, well, because you all looked great in the photos. So again,
Mm,
congratulations again.
thank you.
I think most weddings, that's one of the goals. Always make sure you look
Yes.
good in the photos. So, but that being said, the the autoimmune thing is a big deal. And I don't know if she had any of that, but obviously there's a lot of other viral content, which Dr. Sean Baker, shout out to him. He does a great job sharing besides Anthony and everybody else about these reversals without
Yes.
medicine, without pharmaceuticals, something, the most simplistic thing, like fuel is in all of my branding, how we fuel our body.
Love that.
It's how is it manifesting internally and externally. So I've never had an autoimmune condition.
Mm.
I mean, I don't even have to knock on wood. I don't have to worry about it because I eat a lot of meat and butter. So, what is your point of view on the autoimmune factor? Did you obviously see it amplify when you
Mhm.
went in veganism? Did you have some of it beforehand or no? Did it all just kick in at the same time?
So I had my autoimmune psoriasis condition ever since I was a child.
Okay. Okay.
And yeah, so as long as I can remember, and for me to keep it at bay, I had to use topical prescriptions.
Gotcha.
So for me, the life-changing benefit, vegan didn't help. Carnivore helped me get off all prescription topical creams and literally just cure it. I never have flare-ups.
So, how long have you been, well, to your definition, it's your life. You know if you've been cured or not. How long have you been cured of that?
5 years now, I could
Okay.
safely say, yeah.
So
Took
you're like many people. You saw the turnaround within the first year
exactly.
of basically getting rid of veganism, going all in on the carnivore.
Yep.
Now, was it all in? Did you just go boom, all red meat?
Exactly. I literally did all in, just like how I approached vegan diet and 100% strict carnivore. But I was eating steak, butter, eggs my first few months, and I didn't do lion diet. I experimented with it, but I didn't need to do it. I wasn't that sick.
Yeah, Dr. Peterson's daughter, obviously.
Yeah.
Are they the ones that coined the lion diet? I mean,
Michaela,
okay, yeah.
correct.
So that's why I wasn't sure if that was a Michaela thing or not. Obviously, she's got a crazy backstory of all the autoimmune impacts of that. So
Yeah.
hers was even worse than obviously what you had to experience. I mean,
Way worse.
she
Way
was having
worse.
failed joints and everything.
Exactly. I
And
don't think she
unfortunately,
could
she didn't
even.
find carnivore until after she had all those surgeries.
Right, exactly. I don't think she could even roll out of bed or be functional. She was that sick.
Yeah.
Um, so it's way worse.
And here's the funny thing. I'd say, oh God, since I first found Vinny years ago, started working on those movie projects with him, stuff like that, it's been a hot minute. Obviously, we've gone from the paleo thing to the keto thing. And I called it, I'm a sales and marketing consultant. I called it from the beginning. I'm like, just wait for the food companies to figure out they're losing dollars on this term, and then they're going to find a way to make keto dirty. Here's what I'm excited about. It's going to be really hard to go dirty carnivore. I
Yeah,
mean, it's possible, right?
it
You can make
is.
anything dirty, and so let's expand on that
Sure.
because I think people, I get how not to go dirty. I'll give you a quick example. Hold on. I see
Sure.
this little dot right here.
Yeah.
That was a pimple on my forearm
Okay.
from
Interesting.
vacation because I've been gone for a week and a half skiing in Canada.
Mm,
I just to make the wife happy and everything. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to order my steak and order my eggs, and order my bacon, and hope for the best. Do you know where I'm
mhm.
going with that?
Absolutely.
What do you think is one of these things that I just never, because I haven't had a pimple since I was a little kid. But if
Wow.
something dirty gets it, now I'll stand corrected. When I was a firefighter, I was a hot shot while I'm a firefighter. We would go 2 weeks without showers because we're hiking in the mountains fighting wildfires with chainsaws, and you're just a
Wow.
filthy animal. And this is
Wow.
men and women, so you can get dirty. So yeah, if
Wow.
you take your packs off, you would get like, not to be
Oh,
gross, but back pimples and stuff like that
right.
because you have dirt getting into your pores.
Of
And
course.
again, the way the federal government supplied our nutrition was lacking. I can get a
Mm.
whole other podcast on that. So anyway, what do you think my little pimple was probably triggered by on vacation?
Seed oils is my
Boom.
immediate thought,
That's what
and
I'm assuming. You know,
possibly sugar snuck into their seasonings, spices, rubs that they cooked your steak in.
yeah.
So it's either or both.
And how do you? So how do you help people with that? As from your own example, I mean, you and I both know. Okay, you can't mess up. Well, let me pause on the mess up a stick of butter thing. We'll get to that in a second.
Sure.
How do you steer people? Because I've been following you for a little while and I know you're putting great content out there. So I want to make sure people who don't always align with me, I'm like, it's cool. Go look at other people that are doing the N1 experiment thing. You do not
Mhm.
hide chomping on a stick of butter and eating big hunks of rare meat, which is one, awesome. And two, I showed it to my wife. I'm like, that's hot. Can you start doing that? That'd be great. So,
Thank you. Um,
but how do you help with the dirty factor?
yeah. So I love filming what I eat in a day when traveling, when on the go, because I get such great feedback from the community that, oh my gosh, I learned so much on how to order to ensure that I get a clean steak,
Hmm.
to ensure that I don't have to suffer with pimples on my arms or flare-ups on my skin. And so I'll literally just tell you how exactly I order it. If I'm at the restaurant, I'll be like, I open up with, I am on a ketogenic diet and I am very sensitive to seed oils. So I would like to order this bone-in ribeye. Blue rare is the doneness that I personally prefer, and it's the most rare that a restaurant can cook it. So I say blue rare, and to please cook it without any seed oils, I would just like it plain.
Hmm.
And eight times out of 10, not 10 out of 10, 8 times out of 10, the waiter takes it seriously and they bring out a steak that is truly plain and clean. And I know that because the next day my skin doesn't flare up. I don't have itchy skin. I also don't have a stuffy nose. I
Oh,
know
interesting.
something was in the food if I have a stuffy nose.
Interesting.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
See, it's hard for me to really narrow that down what I was just doing because, I mean, the average temperature up there the past week was 0.
Oh,
So you're out
yeah.
there, you know, skiing. Well, and we had one day was heli skiing, so we're being flown into the backcountry and getting dropped off on the side of a mountain and then doing turns down powder. It's
Wow. Wow.
I love my wife. We have adrenaline junkies, yay.
Hey.
Um, but it's like I mean, not to segue real quick, but it's like I have rosy cheeks. Why? It was really, really cold, and I like to ski very, very fast.
Okay.
But
Hmm.
I don't. I'm watching people put sunblock on. Again, we can
Yeah.
table that too,
Yeah.
because you just did some great posting about this. I
Yes.
was in Costa Rica. Well, it's basically a few months back, 2024, and we were in Greece. Not 1 ounce of sunblock.
Oh,
I
good.
don't put chemicals on myself anymore because I've been a carnivore
Yes.
for a while and I've been studying it for a while. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Yes.
What if I'm so healthy and strong and my epidermal layers
Yeah.
are like more bulletproof? What if I don't need to shellac my face with anything?
Exactly. I
Hmm.
love
Right? Because seed oils trigger inflammation. So if
Yes.
there's inflammation in the body, it's already putting its own fires out,
Yeah.
trying to heal. But if I can remove those fires, then my body's just focuses on anything new coming in. And again, let's pause on this, right? You just got off of a great wedding and the honeymoon carnivore cruise. We'll have to talk about the carnivore cruise too, but it's like, it doesn't mean you go stand in the sun for 12 hours a day. So
Right.
how do you
Obvious.
like to help people with that? Because people are like,
Yeah.
oh, you have to use sunblock. I'm like, my
Right.
goal is not stand in the sun straight for 12 hours a day on a beach.
Exactly. And people who aren't open-minded where they look at your content and they automatically assume. So they're already closed-minded to begin with. They will assume the most extremes. They're never going to watch your content and be reasonable. So the content that I post, at least, is created for the people who are already informed, already carnivore curious, right?
Mhm.
But somehow a lot of my posts get viral, they blow up overnight or something like that. And then I look at the comments the next day, and most of the comments are all naysayers. They just don't understand.
I had to
Um,
screen share while you're explaining
yeah.
this.
Oh, there we go. Literally today's post.
Yeah, butter, steak, and ladies and gentlemen, this is all about a post you just did today. Today, I'll timestamp this on February 10th of 2025. How she doesn't use SPF. There's no sunblock because you're doing your thing. So
Right. Thank you
yeah,
so much for sharing that.
well,
Um,
because it's doing well too. By the way, I was wondering how well this would start
yeah.
ranking. You already got 2,000 likes, so
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Thank
everybody's doing beef tallow skincare for years.
Yeah, you see? So most of the comments, the first 24 hours, maybe up to the first 48 hours, the comments are phenomenal, supportive comments. Carnivores who are saying, "Yep, me too. I relate. Here's my story. Here's my testimonial." It's usually around like day 3 and beyond where the naysayers start rolling in, which
Oh,
is fine.
the trolls need time.
Yes, they
Yeah,
do.
their brains aren't firing on all cylinders, so they're running a little slow. It takes them a couple of days to catch up.
True, exactly.
Which I'm still finishing. Actually, I was tagging a bunch of people this past week. The newest book that you and everybody's talking about.
Oh, the
Vegan.
vegans have smaller
Yeah,
brains.
I make
Yeah.
sure I'm on the plane. keeping my perfect posture, and I got it like this. Like I got to spread wide just in
Oh,
case people look at me weird. And I'm wearing one of my carnivore shirts. I love now traveling that way. And my wife just rolls her eyes. She goes, "Do you have to?" I was like, "That's what I'm proud of my T-shirt and
love
my
that.
book of choice. So I'm
I
just going to
love
read
that.
it and walk around. People don't have to say anything."
Yeah.
But yeah, I she didn't believe me. I was like, I don't need I don't need sunblock. She still uses,
Mm.
well, I will say she's paid attention to more of the ingredient reading, which I've
Good.
always been
Yeah.
telling teach people. I'm like, please read the ingredients.
First
So
step.
she's at least moved into the sun bum world. Is again baby steps, right? You got to meet people where they're at.
Yes.
I'm not
Yes.
here to tell my beautiful, intelligent, uh, by the way, equine doctor and
Wow.
chiropractic doctor for large animals. So it's like
Wow.
she's a smart cookie. So I'm not here to tell a double doc what to do. I'm just going to set
Yeah.
my example. Hope that she pays attention. And when
Yes.
I make her choice, which is a fillet, which again you and I love ribeyes because that's where the energy is. You need
Yes.
those healthy fats. Um, I'm happy to help finish the rest of the steak that she does not. So,
Oh my God.
because that's what a good husband should do.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed.
But do
Yes.
you actually now I can say your husband? Do you and your hubby finish your own steaks, or do you have to help each other out once in a while?
He never helps me because I really finish everything I cook.
If you're doing 2 to 3 steaks, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yep, I really am. And sometimes he'll have leftovers, so I'll just eat it up. It's
Mm.
really the other way around. I finish his.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I love. I just proved to one of my business contacts a few months ago. It's like, hey, I need to thank you for your business. We're gonna go out to a nice steak dinner. He's like, great. And I was like, well, I'm buying. And so I always order the tomahawk. And then
Nice.
people look at me like I'm crazy. And I'm like, he's like, oh, you gonna eat all of it? I was like, yeah, it's not for two, it's for one. Like, well, some people share it. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna share
No,
that. And people are like,
exactly.
and then they think you're not gonna finish it, and then you
Right.
do, and then they're like, I just don't understand. So, do you find yourself biting your tongue a lot, or I mean, granted, you're putting it all out there, right? You're not technically
Yes.
biting your tongue,
Sure.
um, but sometimes you just, I don't know. How do you respond?
So, in like real life situations, right? Because when I post on the internet, it's easy for me to be proud of being carnivore because that's what my
Absolutely.
pages are all about, is to spread awareness. But let's say I'm having dinner with my mother-in-law in her home. I obviously would rather just keep it under the table, be polite, not be all up in their faces when family is involved. And to my surprise, actually, when I just show up happy, healthy, vibrant, polite, I'm the one being interviewed at the table. I am the one,
Aha.
being asked questions about, well, healing, health, weight loss, all of that. And it brings me so much joy when I get asked genuine, curious questions about my diet and eating meat, because I will be the first to help you if you want the help. But
Yes.
I am usually the last to rub it in your face. Yes.
I thank you, and that's kind of where I'm at too. I'm not here to rub it in your face, but
Yes.
yeah, I'm also proud of what works, and
Yeah.
I'm going to throw it out there. I don't put it in the consistency that you do because clearly that's become part of your brand. You become, I hate to call it everybody loves being an influencer, right? But you're just trying to share what has worked for you and your
Yes.
family and your friends, and what continues to work for you. And if that
Oh.
becomes a viral feed of education, then great. But then I noticed when I started digging into your background more that you've been busy,
Mm.
and now you have the steak and butter gang.
Yes.
So so let's dive into that because I don't want to skip over that. Because butter matters too, and we haven't
Yes.
we haven't hit on the butter subject yet. So it's in the branding. Was that the cruise thing? Was that all tied in together through that?
Yeah, well, thank you for bringing it up. But the Steak and Butter Gang is just my private community for
Okay.
those who need that extra help and guidance. So I've set up the Steak and Butter Gang to be an online community. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like. Once you join, you basically get to hop on almost daily Zoom calls with my team of coaches,
Oh, wow.
moderators. Yeah, so it's really the magic is in the live Zoom calls because you actually get to talk to carnivores of 3, 4, 5, 6+ years of experience.
Hmm.
And we talked about Dr. Chafee a lot. I invite Dr. Chafee, doctors like Dr. Baker, to do monthly Q&As.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you get to speak to the doctor that you literally watch every night on TV or on your computer to learn about carnivore, it's so inspiring to be able to talk to them, get live answers from them personally. So I work hard to make sure it's like an all inclusive experience for the best learning and support.
Well, I think that's needed nowadays. I think more of the population than ever. I mean, again, Vinny Tortorich, right? He has his own no sugar, no grains community. And the funny thing was, it became viral years ago because of his fans. They created it themselves. He never actually created it. And
Wow.
it's still managed and run by the fans.
Oh, wow.
I was an admin in there forever when we
Mm,
were working directly, just to kind of, in case we needed access to content, I wanted to DM one of the people saying, hey, can we use your before and after photos? Because his
wow.
biggest symbolism, I mean, I call him the OG of the ketogenic
Yes.
movement. He was one of the
Yeah.
first ever personal trainers to the stars out in LA. And he just never told everybody that right when he got people ready for a buff movie, it wasn't all the exercise. He was getting them off of sugars and grains and seed oils. And then, yes, he was training them on certain movements and physical abilities and exercise makes you strong, fit, and make certain things look good. But
Yes.
he was the first person to tell people, like, don't skip the kitchen, you know?
Yes.
Um, so I think
Wow.
the community thing is huge because people need to have sometimes a private way to find people to relate to, because a lot of people are struggling. You have people that were led astray by, well, in this country, I don't get into politics on this show. We'll just say that whatever party you're a part of, I think we all can agree that we were steered a very wrong direction for many, many years.
Yeah.
And all you got to do is look at the before and after on our disease rates and the cost of medical expenses and the growth of hospital networks. Like in my own area here in Allentown, Pennsylvania, I'm an hour north of Philadelphia. We're an hour and a half from New York City. It's become a booming area ever since COVID.
Yeah.
And there's two superpower hospital networks, and they're both quote nonprofit. But every 5 minutes, I see them opening up another mini campus here and a mini office there and an urgent care there, and I'm like, because
Mm-hmm.
we're broken, and unfortunately, we do need that because more of us do need to find these communities to get the wake up call and say, wait a minute, our guidance was broken.
Yes, exactly. When you hear multiple stories that you can relate to, I feel like there's nothing more powerful. And something that's so magical that I got to witness time and time again through community is people discovering fellow carnivores who literally live down their street.
Mm,
So then they get to meet up in person and then they become lifelong friends. And that's the ultimate goal is to have that accountability buddy that's not just on the internet, but like your personal friend.
yeah.
That's everybody's goal in the community because it's such a specific community where we still are seen as aliens. And so
Oh
when
yeah.
you find that fellow carnivore, it's a literally life-changing.
I'm lucky. I'm on the side of a mountain, so
Oh, wow.
we have a shared entrance to come up here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I only have 5 neighbors touching our land, and
Wow.
it cracks me up because they know when I'm home because the grill's going outside.
Yeah.
And then my amazing wife blew my brain out this year for Christmas, and she got me a smoker. Well, now we're playing at another level. I mean, I'm like, wait a
Exactly.
minute. I can prove to people that you could smoke a brisket without putting sugar in it, which drives me nuts.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sure because I ran into Anthony down at KetoCon a few years back, and we hung out for dinner. Have you been down to KetoCon?
Yes, they
Yeah,
they now call it Hack Your Health.
that's right. They rebranded it. Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. See, I'm already out of touch. But Austin was a blast. Is this still in Austin?
I went this past year. It was in Austin, but this year it's in Tampa.
Oh, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Oh, now it's my time zone. Uh-oh.
Yes.
And I'm glad that they're moving that around because you do need, not everybody can justify the expenses to fly across the country just to go to a health conference,
Yes.
especially where I don't make $1 from this. I've never had paid advertisement on my show.
Mm.
I'm simple and old school. I was like, listen, I work hard in my business and my consulting. I make my money. I have a charity that I founded. I have the show. I don't need to have money driven around everything. And I just went to KetoCon, because I wanted to run into people. Like, I had Baker on the show years ago, right before he started blowing up. And I was like, dude, I love this guy. And then finding out Anthony, and I'm like, Anthony's got like another level of extreme because he's the plant-free dude. And I was like, all right, this is, I got to go to this conference and have some fun. So
I love that. It's
but not to promote the event, but it's another way, if you're not in a private community, to connect with other people of like-mindedness.
Right.
But even there, I mean, unless the rebrand helped, you're still seeing these dirty keto related products. I've seen worse. But I mean, the only two places I stopped at where Sean and I were always stopping, he's running into each other at that year, was I would go to the bacon place because they were always cooking bacon all day in the conference center. And then there was that one big ranch that does like really, they have a special breeding of beef, which has a higher fat content. I'm blanking on the name. I don't know if they come back every year or not, but I was like, okay, I'm just going to keep going back and forth, and they're just cooking meat all day.
Perfect. Yeah.
So
the in-person events are so just like how I came off a Carnivore cruise, I made like 140 friends. There were 140 carnivores on that cruise, thanks to, and I will shout out Dr. Lisa Wiedemann because it was her carb sober first ever Carnivore cruise experience that she launched. She invited me and Max to honeymoon as part of that cruise. And these in-person events are like a step above Zoom calls and online communities because you literally get to sit down, eat meat, converse in person with carnivores. And it was a strict carnivore group. So there weren't keto people at all. So I loved it. Everybody I met could relate to everything that I was talking about. Of course, there were lots of new carnivores as well, but it was fun because the questions that they asked about carnivore were literally carnivore questions. It wasn't questions like, can I have avocado oil? Can I have coconut oil? Obviously not, right? That's not carnivore.
Now, granted, if you're I guess I'll label it the way I label it. If you're a step before carnivore, even though you leaped right in, the ketogenic health movement, which there is so much valid science for a long, long time that we ignored and then brought back into the forefront. But even if you're making that transition, learning to remove the sugars, the grains, the seed oils, learning to fire more, especially cooking, more stabilized fats, MCTs and beyond. I went through it. I was like, okay, I'm going to only buy avocado oil, coconut oil, grass-fed butter, beef fat, tallow. And then, especially in the past probably 3 years, it's really started weirding people out because if you go into my bathroom, everything is tallow. So I literally, I went back to getting the old school bristle brush that you would lather up for shaving your beard. And it's tallow based, it's tallow. So, and then I did buy a tallow. I wouldn't call it a sunblock. I don't know. It's actually it's Anthony's company he loves, Stone and Spear.
Stone and Spear.
Yep. So I got all their stuff. So I was like, well, if he's trusting it, I got to at least give it a shot. And this is great. So I took that with me to Canada this past week for the heli skiing trip because I knew I was going to be out in the wide open white. The shots are beautiful. I'm still posting stuff from the trip. But you are fully exposed at high altitude. So you are increased chances of sun exposure and that irradiation process. So all I did was, it's 0 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's really, really cold. And I'm going to be going fast in the wide open. So I just took it, wiped it on my cheeks. Everything that the goggles weren't covering, I just did a quick coat. And it wasn't really because I was worried about the sun. It was because it was so cold. I used it as an insulating layer that I was like, okay, if I got a layer of fat in between, one, my skin's going to draw that in and use it for healing anyway. But two, I was like, okay, well, at least the cold air is going to hit that before it just hits my raw skin. So that was something I just got bored with this past week and tried out.
That's genius. I'm going to do that. That's awesome.
I mean, I don't know if you guys ski or not. So just,
My siblings, they love doing the snow trips.
Okay.
I don't ski, they don't ski, but we do love like snow activities, like snowshoeing.
Yeah.
That's like our favorite thing. Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, one, I love it because I used to live in Colorado, so there's plenty of winter activities out there. I used to
Yeah.
rock climb. I used to hike 14ers out there. I've done all the crazy things,
Oh,
and I
wow.
don't normally see people just out of the blue like, "Oh yeah, I love to go snowshoeing,"
We do.
but it's just something to play with because I'm like, well, I don't know, right? And what back to N1 experiment. I'm like, what if this
Yeah.
protects my skin a little bit more? Because after a few days of just skiing in the super super cold,
Mhm.
um, I just can't stand fully covering my face because I'm steaming up my goggles and I can't. I'm like, I'm just gonna leave it
Mhm.
exposed. My wife, she's fully
Yeah.
covered up, and I felt like my skin. I'm like, ooh, it feels sensitive. So I knew that I was getting that repetitive cold exposure, and you don't want to do
Sure.
frostbite. And I just went outside the gamut here, and I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna rub some fat on it.
Love that. So
I,
good.
I'm somehow okay and rosy cheeked. So
Yes.
because actually I was seeing that in one of your comments. People like actually that comment about SPF. People like, oh my god, your skin looks so beautiful, and it's like,
Thank you. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I
well,
get that a lot, to be honest. But if only you could see my before photos, because when I look at my own before photos, I still get goosebumps. My skin has come a long way in healing, not just my face, but my
yeah,
whole body.
yeah. Well, the psoriasis was it everywhere?
A chest, arms, belly
Oof.
area was where it focused. So, I
Sounds
had to
like the
cover up most of the time.
to say sounds like those are well chest. Well, that's like your sensitive skins. I'm guessing. Let me guess.
Hmm.
Underarms, right? That,
Underarms, inside this part, like was
yes, that
very,
makes me think of like those more sensitive skin areas, the
yeah,
softer skin areas. Huh.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, they probably gave you all kinds of drugs and stuff like that. Wasn't working.
They sure did. Yep.
So, because I don't want to lose any more focus on the butter part of your branding,
Oh, right. Yeah.
because I love trying to explain this to people. Right off the bat, everybody's like, so are you 100% carnivore now? And I'm like, one, I've been eating
Mm.
meat my whole life, never
Yeah.
stopped. Been eating eggs and bacon my whole life, never stopped. The only difference now is when I go to the restaurant, I'm like, hey, I'm just going to save your kitchen some work. If you can just make sure that steak shines, don't worry about all that extra work. It's fine.
Yeah.
But if my
Yeah.
wife was with me, because I was like, oh, do you want the sides?
Yeah.
Because actually, I think Vinny was the first person I heard it out of. But the meat jewelry, I was like, yeah, you can just take that meat jewelry. I'm not into flashy things. I'm like, just
Yeah.
let the steak shine.
Oh, I
Um,
love.
but people are weird about butter. And yeah,
Mm.
that's a whole conversation on the cholesterol, which you've already proven is false. But
Hmm.
there's a lot of carnivore people that get confused by the butter. So I
Okay.
always, nowadays, I just tell people I'm not 100% carnivore. I'm like 90, 95. Because if you look at the pure red blood,
Yeah.
carnivores, it is 100% red meat, animal fat. And
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
You want to correct me on that? I mean, help me as the co-host here. I'm like, you're even
Yes.
deeper than I am.
So, are you saying you consider butter not carnivore?
Well, depending on some people who like to comment
Hmm.
on this, they said, "Oh, well, that's dairy." I'm like, "Okay, there's many tiers of dairy, all
Oh,
right, because
I
it is
see.
right." So
Yeah,
I was like, "It's
that's
still
right.
coming from a beef animal. I mean, unless you're getting it from a
Right.
goat or something like that."
Yep.
So yeah, I'm just intrigued what your thoughts are.
Yeah, so for me, and I think most carnivores, the word carnivore diet is defined by you only eat animal foods, not so much you only eat meat.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this is what I've always gone by since day one, and I'm 6 years in. This is how I learned it from other carnivores as well. And so you mentioned Dr. Baker. He was one of my inspirations actually
Hmm.
to go carnivore. Dr. Baker, like 7 years ago, had his podcast. I don't think he does it the same anymore. Now it's Rivero. But back then he would feature people's stories. And he featured
Yes.
this woman's story. Her name is Kelly Hogan. And Kelly Hogan to this day still shares her carnivore journey. She's now like a 16, 17-year carnivore. And back then when she shared her story, I was like, oh my gosh, all of her healing, those are my goals. And she was eating meat and eggs, pork, seafood, butter as well. I think it's people like Michaela Peterson, Jordan Peterson, they have to be more strict for their health, right? They literally cannot be functional if they don't just stick to beef, salts, and water. That's
Yeah.
Kelly Hogan.
Yeah. I
Look at
found her.
her.
Yeah.
Yeah, before and after is
I mean,
incredible.
and I don't like to refer to things as obesity or fat.
Yep,
I liked Vinny teaching me this a long time ago. That's just pure inflammation. I mean,
exactly.
yes, unfortunately, you
Yes,
probably have some visceral fat around the organs, but this isn't a matter of that, that really negative connotation to obesity. It's like, okay, this is you have fire.
yes,
I mean, in your body. Your body
yes.
is fighting a fire. It's
That's right.
crazy.
That's
So,
right. Well
yeah.
said. It really
Um,
is. But
I mean,
yeah,
that's like she's like one third of herself. So,
literally, yeah,
yeah.
and it's not even her weight loss. She would talk about infertility a lot.
Mm.
And
Oh,
when
shout out to Dr. Kiltz. Is I saying? Yeah.
Dr. Kiltz
Yeah.
literally just hung out with him over the weekend. He had a Tampa meetup, was amazing. So many voices now that I'm like so very grateful for, because a lot of people who come to my page, they see a girl who's gorging steak and butter. I'm not a doctor. I'm literally just a girl sharing what I eat, what I healed. And so when people say, well, what's your criteria for saying all these things? You're no doctor, you're no coach. I say, then fine, let me recommend some of the most amazing doctors, experts, and coaches, and I tag them all. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm very grateful that I can send all these people to go check them out and learn the real deal stuff. But yeah, the butter for me, I've always considered perfectly okay on a carnivore diet because it comes from an animal and it is a pure fat. So it's not so much a problematic dairy, where I know a lot of the hardcore carnivores, they like to say, well, you shouldn't be eating too much cheese because that's just going to bring back the inflammation. It defeats the purpose of going carnivore. Sure, but I'm more interested in being sustainable with this lifestyle because carnivore is not a fad diet. It's not going to pass and, run out of style. It is forever going to be an option and it keeps growing. Carnivore diet to me works if you can make it past the 90 days. And what I've
Yes.
seen being in this community, 90% of people who go carnivore do not successfully make it to the 90 days. I
But you know
see it
what?
because,
That's not
yeah,
a carnivore fault.
absolutely not.
Right. You and I can
Yeah.
geek on this. I could shout out Vinny Tortorich. I could shout out a lot of his NSNG keto coaches that, I mean, I don't know if they're his, but anyway, it's trying to help people transform their lives. And it doesn't matter if you're trying to quit sugar, cut the
Yep.
grain addiction, which turns to sugar, all these different things. It's the lifestyle shift. I used to do before and after transformation work. And again, I was a CrossFit coach. I coached kids in ski racing for 12 years. I've been a spinning instructor in my life. I've been a
Yeah.
personal trainer. I've done all the things
Right.
just because I enjoyed health and fitness. But especially people close to me, when I would try and help them, I would tell them, like, listen, I'm not the guy to help you unless you want somebody who's going to tell you how it is. And I'm going to call you out when you're being lazy. Because in
Yeah.
the end, the biggest thing in any transformation in life, whether it's your business, whether it's improving your relationships, or it's your kitchen,
Yeah.
it takes a mental commitment. And right
Yes.
when it gets hard,
Mhm.
I'll tie this to running marathons. I used to do that too, right? It's like, okay, dude, you got to break through that mental barrier. So
Mhm.
it doesn't matter if it's carnivore
Yeah.
or keto or whatever. It's like, guys, that first 30 days is pretty much most of the brain addiction. I mean, depending
Right.
on how bad you were.
Yeah.
Next 60 days is you're start to build that habit. And that's
Yep.
60 to 90. If you break that 90, well, now it's just like, it's easy.
Yeah.
So, right? I mean, is
That's
that
right.
pretty much what you've seen?
Absolutely. If I could summarize from what I've seen with people who I've worked with in the community and also just witnessed on social media, most of the people who don't make it past 30 days, or maybe not even past 2 weeks, they don't talk about it. So you're not seeing or hearing the stories of people not making it past 1 month.
Hmm.
Most of the people that you hear from, whether it's good testimonials, neutral testimonials, testimonials at all, they are typically the people who have done it for 90 days plus.
Hmm.
Because that's when the healing truly happens. That's when you start seeing your hair grow back, skin glow, your body cinch. I genuinely recommend, hey, if you're serious about carnivore, expect 90 days of doing it. If that daunts you, don't even do it. Just
Right.
do what you think has been working for you all along, which I don't think anything was working. Otherwise, you wouldn't be seeking for answers.
It's a very easy reminder, but it also seems to be very easily forgotten by the person who is trying to transform their life or find a better way to live, is they forget that, well, something wasn't working or many things weren't working.
Yeah.
And you need a change. That's why you even reached out or even consider going down that path. But then if you escape or, run away from that new path, big picture, I can't help it because I'm a geek on psychology. I dual majored in it. So it's like, okay, I study marketing, but I love the science. I had to study psychology. I'm a mindset guy. It's like, even me studying all that and doing all my own personal and professional development, you're still going to put the work in. You, myself, it's still reminded day in and day out. Yeah, you have good weeks, you have good months, you have bad months, you have bad weeks. You have to roll with the punches. And I remind people that in the beginning, it is hard. Yes. But the more hard things you confront, it gets easier in life. Like, exactly. Okay, firefighting kind of gave me a cheat code, right? It was like, oh, I'll just beat the crap out of myself for 2 years and have people yell at me like I'm in the Marine Corps fighting wildfires. It's not a brag. It's just I was broken week after week and being fed crappy food and MREs and preservatives and Cliff Bars and all this junk. Like our firefighter lunch was an orange, 3 Cliff Bars and this pathetic white bread lunch meat wad. We called it a wad because when it's been in your pack all afternoon hiking in the mountains, the bread and the stuff just becomes a wad. But we were so desperate for food. We were burning. If you were a sawyer wielding a chainsaw, we estimated, rough calculations when I served, this is back in 2010, anywhere from 10 to 12,000 calories of energy per day, because we were doing 16-hour shifts.
Oh my gosh.
So granted, you're on the side of a mountain. I can't have somebody serving me up a ribeye 2 to 3 times a day hiking in the mountains. So unfortunately, you had to take the good with the bad. But then when you had a chance to get back to a fire camp that was set up in the valley down there just to get like real food, I was happy when they had like a big 18-wheeler tractor trailer and it was a mobile kitchen. And you just saw like a skid of eggs get delivered. And it's like, yes. Like, so, but yeah, they were still serving, potatoes and French fries and all that stuff. And I think back, I'm like, man, I remember camping in the middle of the night under the stars and my knees throbbing. Granted, you're hiking for 16 hours a day. You got 40, 50 pounds of gear on your back, not including your tools and poor nutrition.
Yeah, that's true.
But now 10, 15 years later, I can go camping and I can go hiking all day and and I have a weight vest. I do all the resistance training. I have 0 joint pain.
Amazing.
Right? So it's like, okay, clearly something I changed over the years. And I was younger then. So I'm getting older. I'm more fit. I'm healthier. I'm not on one pharmaceutical at all. I pay for my own advanced blood work because I can't trust the basic stuff that I have to jump through hoops to get. Right?
Yeah.
And then people still question that. And I said, well, then you need to get your own journey going.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to listen to what I'm sharing or what you're sharing. It's like you can create your own story of success. Absolutely. But it takes commitment.
It does take commitment and also maybe an ounce of desperation. And this is what I see a lot too.
Okay.
A lot of carnivores who actually end up sticking to carnivore past 90 days and maybe for years, they came to carnivore because they had no other choice. So as in, they were so sick that they were desperate for that one last answer. And so for a lot of people, carnivore was the last straw. It was for me. Okay. Because I tried vegan diet, standard American diet, standard Chinese diet, of course, junk food diet. Okay. So none of those things worked. Everything in moderation. None of those things worked. So when carnivore diet popped up, I was like, well, this sounds absolutely crazy, but I feel like I've tried everything else. So I'm going to give it a go. And so these people are so sick or so desperate for some type of healing to feel good again. They also have the level of commitment that they need to make it to 90 days and beyond.
It's a little piece of desperation. I have to agree. Yeah. I think, but well, it's true though, because unfortunately in the modern era, there's so much stimulus out there, right? We got the smartphones and the iPads and the laptops and the negative news networks. And you're trying to figure out what's the truthful story, what's the not, and is cholesterol real? Is it not? And, dietary cholesterol versus, it's just, you and I have been down this road for a long time, even though we're just meeting. You're right. It does take a piece of desperation. Sadly. to
Mm-hmm.
get a lot of people over that curve. Now, me, I didn't need the desperation. I'm wired, I think, very similar to you, which is like once I know something or I found something and there's enough data there, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, well, let's go. Like, that's why people like,
Yes.
oh, Scott's all meat all the time. And I'm like, because it's easy.
Right. It is easy.
And I don't have to,
Yeah.
I don't go to the grocery store. Like, people are
Wow.
like, you don't? I'm like, well, no, I have a local farm. I buy, it's the way I was as a kid. I source, well, depending on the year, sometimes I'll get 1 to 2 steers, the entire animal. And then I've been teaching this to my friends' families who have kids. I don't have kids. We don't want to deal with all the kids running around. Like we're dog parents, but so I have my wife, myself, and a dog, and
Wow.
I get a half of a steer by myself every year. And people are like, how do you eat all that meat? I'm like, well, I also got into hunting this year. I know that's a touchy subject, but I got my first venison this year right behind the house. So now I have that in the freezer. And then I also have a half a pig in the freezer because the farm I get the beef from. Now I know some people don't like pork. I know that's an interesting subject. Maybe you can chime in on that.
Sure.
I was like, guys, that's the way I was as a kid. As a farmer, we would work with the local farms, get all of our supplies, stock the freezers up for the winter, and we had our nutrition. It's just we strayed away from that because none of my family is in farming anymore.
Yes.
And all I did was go back in time and say, well, that always worked.
Yeah.
And now I know exactly how the animals raise 100%. She plants over 5 to 7 different species of grasses. So she's all about grass fed. I mean, I know that's another topic, right? Grain fed, grass fed. I'm like, listen, just start eating meat. Like,
Yeah.
let's not go crazy here and organic and not organic and all that. I mean, what are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah. Well, firstly, I'll speak on the pork.
Yes.
I do eat pork, but specifically pasture raised pork.
Yes.
And so after learning the PUFA content, the omega 6 to omega 3 ratio in conventional pork, I just, I feel very turned off eating conventional grocery store bought pork because
Yes.
I will get more inflammation. And the type of inflammation I get is swelling in my ankles, swelling in my knees. Yeah,
And
fingers.
I'm getting it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Depending on the restaurant, going back to earlier. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can feel
Keep
that.
going.
If not by the evening, by the next day, I'll feel that. I was like, they cooked with seed oils. My
Oh,
fingers, my
yeah.
knuckles, they're feeling
Exactly.
tight. Yeah.
Exactly. So I avoid conventional pork, but my one of my favorite meats to eat of all time that is so high fat and nutritious is fresh pork belly.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
eat bacon. I'm not a fan of bacon personally, but I know carnivores love bacon. I don't like bacon because it's so salty, way too heavily seasoned. By the way, I don't eat salt, so I'm a no salt carnivore. And so
Interesting.
yeah.
I did
And
not, I missed that.
oh, no
Sorry.
worries.
I'm
I
glad we
don't
haven't
tend to
stopped
talk about
recording
it too
yet.
much.
Wow. A no salt carnivore. Sean Baker loves his salt. So,
I know. But you might be surprised to hear that Anthony Chafee recently went no salt himself. Okay.
all right, I
So
got to shoot
it's
him a
starting to
text now,
happen.
too. Okay.
Sure. Go ahead. Um, and for me, I started no salt day one. Learned it from the OG carnivore tribe, zeroing in on health, which Kelly Hogan was a part of. Lisa
Mm.
Wiedemann was a part of that tribe. So they touted absolutely no salt because salt is a processed food. The whole thing about carnivore diet is you're trying to connect with the ancestors' way, how they ate. They would hunt, eat the meat raw typically, and then they would fast. Right?
So,
Sure, they would be scavenging berries and plants if they needed, but I don't think they had Redmond's salt shakers with them when they were eating.
very true.
So, yeah, I started with no salt and then I was like, there's no way that I feel this good. Maybe if I add salt, I'll feel even better because everybody obsesses over salt. I added it back. I just don't feel as good. Less energy, poor sleep, puffiness around my eye bags, especially.
Hmm.
I just feel very drowsy.
Hmm.
When I take it out, I feel back to being amazing.
It's interesting because I've been a mountain biker, raced mountain bikes, and road cyclist. I do, I move a lot.
Yeah.
And back from firefighting, I mean, we were sweating all the time. So that's when I always like
Yeah.
to remind people basic salt, not iodized salt, but like high quality salt is
Yeah.
used as an electrolytic value in the equation.
Yes.
But to your point, just a daily way of life, do you really need salt that much? Is a very good point because only a few weeks ago. I just, I don't know, I forgot to order salt. I was out of it for a
Oh,
little while, and then I put it back in
oh,
again. And
yeah.
it's wintertime, so it takes a lot harder for me to get a good sweat going. I really need to
Mm.
get a dry sauna, but
Oh, yeah.
goals. And
Hmm.
I found like my feet were cramping, like I moved the
Oh,
wrong way, and
okay.
my literally my abdominals. I had a great workout that day, but my abs locked up. Like I was doubled over and like trying to do yoga to open my abdominals up. I was like, I've never cramped an abdominal muscle in my life. My wife is looking at me like
Oh.
I'm crazy. She's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I think I cramped my ab."
Whoa.
Right? So it's like, huh, that could be
Yeah.
because people would think a lot of people think you get cramps from no salt. I was like,
Yes.
you can get them both ways.
Yes.
So
Yeah. I'm so glad you shared that because when I add salt, because I have no choice, like let's say I'm at a restaurant, they salted my stuff, I do end up getting cramping from adding in salt back in. And
interesting.
I think maybe you missed that I'm no salt because I just don't talk about it too much.
Yeah.
Because I'm worried that when I talk about it too much, people will get the wrong idea and think that I'm coming off saying you must go no salt carnivore, which I never do. But people assume things like they take messaging differently. And anytime I do bring it up, I have followers freaking out. They're like, "Oh my gosh, Bella, so I'm eating salt every single day. I don't think I can ever let go of my salt." Then don't,
Right.
right? Just don't. If you
If
sweat
it's
every day,
working,
if it's working,
yeah.
do what works.
And again,
Exactly.
we don't understand everything about genetics because we're not geneticists. But hands down, yes, we've talked about this earlier in the show. Some things, a lot of things, actually do get passed on generation to generation. Some good, some bad. A lot of things could be born with a certain way. Like my wife, when she was very, very young, she said she used to pass out a lot, like not full blown epilepsy. And they figured out she needs more salt in her diet, which goes against all the modern MDs, which again,
Mhm.
interview any truth telling MD, which I've done many on this show, and they'll tell you they don't learn anything about nutrition in the university. And it's a shame. It's such a baseline for standard health. Hopefully that'll change in your or my lifetime.
Mhm.
But it just so happens for her, she does better on salt. Me, I can cut salt out
It's
and I
awesome.
don't really notice one way or the other. So it's very interesting. I'm glad we
Yep.
we brought that up here towards the end of the show.
Me too.
Yeah, maybe I'll go no salt for a little while and see if anything's different.
Oh,
Because
exciting.
again, and one experiment, I can't knock
Yes.
it till I try it. Granted,
Ex-
I've never done that with cigarettes. I was like, there's certain things like people are like, oh, is that how you do everything? I'm like, no, I'm not into cocaine. I'm not into heroin. I'm not into the hard drugs.
Yeah.
I've never done a cigarette in my life. I was like,
Yes.
okay, there's like, let's not go crazy here, people. We're talking about M1 experiment on a slight nutritional change to see
Yeah.
what the before and after is going to do here.
Exactly.
I'm not pounding Twinkies.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, time has been flying. We've already hit over an hour already. Um,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I know, right?
Time.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
What's next for you here in 2025? Is there anything big happening? Because obviously, no offense, I think the marriage is big, and
Oh,
the Carnivore cruise was super super big. Um,
yes.
is there a third element that completes that more recent
Wow.
trifecta?
Well, I think this year will be my record-breaking year of traveling because I'm going to so many awesome carnivore events. So they either name it convention, beef roundups, hack your health,
Mm-hmm.
cruises. Like there's so many different types of carnivore specific events now. And when I get invited, I am always humbled because either I just don't believe that I should be there speaking. Honestly, again, I'm not a doctor, but I guess because I share my journey so consistently, people do see me as a great source of learning, which I am so honored by every single day. One of my favorite things to post is recipes.
Mm-hmm.
So when I meet carnivores in person, a lot of the times they're saying, "I tried your recipe the other night. Oh, I make your pancakes literally every weekend." So I would love to be seen as like the go-to girl to learn awesome recipes on carnivore. Everything else, I'm just sharing my observations with my personal N equals one. But yeah, exciting things happening. I'll go to Australia soon for an event, and then I get to go to Tennessee for meat stock, and then Wyoming
Oh, is
for the
meat
beef
stock in
roundup.
Tennessee? Oh,
Yeah, it is.
oh, that's not far.
Gatlinburg.
I was just down there well, not Tennessee. I was in North Carolina helping out with the
Fun.
hurricane recovery efforts
Oh,
from
wow.
Helene down there. It's still very messy down there.
Yeah,
But I didn't realize that was an East Coast event.
it is.
Might
Yeah.
need a road trip.
Would love to meet you there.
What
I've
time is
heard
that? Or
good
what
things.
time of year is that?
I believe May 16th to May 19th.
And what's the branding on that? Beef stock or no?
Meat
Meat.
stock. Yes.
Okay. I wonder if that's the one that Baker was just out to in the past year.
He goes to that every year and he's going again this year.
Okay. I
Yep.
knew I heard of that before then. So, like I said,
Yep.
it's yeah, like you said, I'm not sure what he's doing with the podcast right now either because he's got so much going on with Rivera Health and everything else. But like you and
Yeah. So
Anthony getting
busy.
these opportunities to travel and actually
It's
support
so
these
fun.
events, I
Yeah.
appreciate the fact that you're willing to say yes because it is
Oh.
when you become I hate to use the word influencer, whatever. When
Okay.
you become
Whatever.
an influencer and people are following you for good reasons, not for all that trash that's out there in the online space, it's like, okay, well, people can relate to you clearly. And maybe I still believe that people follow you, but also, yes, Sean Baker and Dr. Kiltz and Dr. Chafee. Because, yes, it's good to have some experts to be able to throw names back at people and say, okay, fine, you may think that I'm crazy, even though I have a clean bill of health. But fine, let's here, go follow this person, go follow that person. I love this idea of the recipe thing. Didn't you just post something about a carnivore pizza?
I sure did. Yeah, I sure did.
Because my wife loves pizza and I don't because I
Oh,
quit that years ago because I don't because everybody thinks
yeah.
actually this is it, I think, right?
Exactly.
There we go.
That's the shortened version, but the full video's on my channel.
Nice. So is it a meat crust or
You.
is it a cheese crust?
It's a meat crust. It's made out of chicken.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Is why chicken? Is that just easier to make a crust out of because it's drier?
It is
Uh,
drier, but it also gives that neutral crust flavor. So people don't love it when the crust tastes like meat for some reason, which I would love, but they want it to
yeah.
taste like pizza.
Okay. All right. I might have to follow that then because just to see if she
Yay.
actually would eat it too. But anyway,
Okay.
I mean, but
Yeah, keep me posted.
that's like meat on meat love right there. I mean, yeah, because you had
Exactly.
meatballs. Oh my God. Yeah, sorry.
Cheese.
That's
Yeah.
phenomenal. So are you going to be doing is the recipes, you also share that through the steak and butter gang or how are,
Yeah. So the recipes, as of now, I do it in video format. So if you want to try my recipes, unfortunately, you have to watch the YouTube channel or
okay.
the YouTube video specifically, and I teach you in the video hands-on. But like, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say this. I don't think it matters. My husband did sign like a deal for a cookbook. So that should be coming out in the next year and a half.
Yeah. I don't see why you can't say that.
Yeah, I
Like
don't think it matters.
it's a exciting thing because
It
again,
is.
Vinny's co-host for so long, Anna Vocino,
Yeah.
she's another person who goes to those keto events and she speaks on behalf of her no sugar,
Oh,
no
yeah.
grain recipes. And
Yeah.
every once in a while, she does a crazy meat thing as well. Now, granted, she's not a carnivore, but she's
Oh,
someone who suffers from autoimmune her whole life. I think she was just blanking which condition she has.
okay.
But so those recipes, those are all public on the YouTube as well.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Everything is free. You just watch the video and you'll learn.
there we go. Just found it.
Oh,
I'll make sure all
thank
these links are in
you.
the show notes, by the way, too. So,
Appreciate
um,
that. Thanks.
hey, you've been busy on there too. All right,
Yeah.
you're killing it. You're killing it.
Thank
I like
you.
it.
Thank you.
Oh, you have a lot of recipes in here.
Oh, yeah. They really pile up because I do it for my husband. So he cannot survive on like just steak and eggs every day.
Oh, I
Whereas
can.
I love boring. I love boring, you
Yeah,
know?
me. Yep.
Yeah, we're the same. But
I
not my
literally
husband.
here's my extent of being a chef. Well, now that I got that smoker, it's a game
Mm,
changer.
I
But
know.
because I think you did share my one post. My break in was the picana. Am I saying
Oh,
that right?
yes. I
Picanha.
remember your post.
Yeah.
Picanha. I remember.
Yeah. So I it was a cut sitting in my freezer from my steer, and I never knew what to do with it. And then I build this smoker, and I
So
hop in. It's got an app and everything. I go into the app, and I'm like, very first recipe was a picanha, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do that. And
yes.
all I did was take a knife, you slice the fat, you do a little. I did some salt prep, let it
Nice.
rest, and then fired the thing up, and then just set it and forget it for like 8 hours. It was
The
wonderful. So
best.
yeah.
So good.
But my lazy carnivore recipe is when you get your own steer, you can only get so many cuts of steak and roast and everything else, and then you have ground. And a lot of people, they feel ground is lazy or lacking of nutrition. I'm like, that's the easiest thing ever.
Yeah.
So because they give it to you in 1 pound packs, so I just defrost it and I throw it right in my iron skillet, and I just sear all 4 sides in grass-fed butter. Then once everything is sealed in, then I just take a knife or the spatula and I just cut it into chunks so it looks like sliders. So I just call it lazy sliders because that's my creativity. I'm like, I could just eat the block of beef ready to go, but I was like, oh, let me just present it differently. I'll just have some sliders on the plate. But that so now everybody that I get my steer for, and they get a quarter of the animal every year. I share that to them. I'm like, listen, you do you on the seasoning, but that's all I do. It's just butter and beef in the iron skillet, and I don't eat less than a pound of meat per sitting. You sounds like you might go more on your
yeah, I need 2. Yeah,
but that's lazy for me. I'm like, it's
Same.
easy. I mean,
it's so good.
Yeah. I wanted to, before we close out, a few years ago, I tagged Kerry Gold in a post. They upset me. Because I want to close out on this miseducation element of our food supply, which you've hinted on, and I've hinted on, seed oils and everything else. Don't trust all Kerrygold butter or all butter brands. I'm not poo-pooing them. I still love them, but I was, ladies and gentlemen, you buy in bricks and sticks. Don't buy tubs. Because in order to squirt it into a tub, they have to add something to make it softer. And the first time I saw it, it was they put I think they put a seed oil in it. I think it was canola oil. Yes, they mixed canola oil into the butter, put it in a tub. It had a different color logo on it. It's still Kerrygold, and it's now more spreadable.
No. Yeah.
So I tagged them and I'm like, thanks for ruining a perfect product. They actually commented back. I was very impressed, like little old me. And they said, oh, well, I was like, we understand your concerns. The regular pure, Kerrygold is still available. This is just answering our consumers' request for a more spreadable butter.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, that's the stage you're going to stand on. Like you let us misinformed customers tell you to go ahead and put a highly inflammatory ingredient into a perfect food.
Yeah.
So people could spread it on their inflammatory bread easier. I was like, here's a little tip. Just take the butter out of the fridge a little bit earlier. Exactly. And the room temperature might soften it up a little bit.
Exactly.
I mean, you eat sticks of butter all the time.
All the time. And actually, speaking of Kerrygold, that's exactly why I stopped eating their. So again, I don't eat salt, so I only eat unsalted butter. I stopped buying and eating their unsalted butter after I realized, and it wasn't always the case, but just a few years back, they started adding a new ingredient to their unsalted butter.
Oh, come on. I'm behind the scenes again. What do you got?
No,
what do you got?
It's skimmed milk.
Why?
Exactly why. I was so
add
confused.
Milk to butter?
Exactly. Skimmed milk. But you look at the salted butter, no skimmed milk.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. You just, I got to go back down the Kerrygold pit of despair. Again, I as Irish bloodline, I felt bad like calling him out, but I'm like, just leave it alone. Salt, no salt.
Yeah.
That's it. It's not even the cheese. Leave the cheese alone. I mean, just, the cheese is pretty good. Again, not everybody wants to eat cheese on the carnivore diet, but I was like, okay.
Cheese is fine, if you can tolerate it. But yeah, like butter is supposed to just be cultured cream. If it's unsalted, that's it. Just one ingredient. If it's salted, cultured cream and salt. So that additional skimmed milk was enough for me to switch to another brand.
So you found that while you were cooking, or just noticed it one day?
I found it out because I was grocery shopping, and I've built a habit early on to always read the ingredients list, no matter what it is I buy. And so that day at Costco, I saw it and I was like, that's funny, because I swear my unsalted Kerrygold at home doesn't have skimmed milk. And it was at that moment where I realized it's a new ingredient.
I have a feeling I know exactly what that is. So it's just like in the whey protein supplement industry. Whey protein is actually a waste byproduct. A lot of people don't realize that from manufacturing other dairy based foods.
Hmm.
That was the stuff left over for a long time. Then they realized, oh well, instead of throwing it out, what else can we do out of it? You turn it into a protein powder.
Yeah.
Um, but that would make sense because if you're making pure butters and stuff like that through the curing process and the culturing process, you may have some skimming being left
Mm.
over. And I worked in a dairy farm when I was like 15, so I got
Oh,
to see all this stuff when I was a kid. So we made our
cool.
own ice cream and everything there. Again, not very healthy, not carnivore. But actually, Dr. Kiltz does have a carnivore ice cream. I think I saw.
There is a carnivore ice cream, and you can make carnivore ice cream that's perfectly clean and healthy. Just
Yeah,
cut out the sugar.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. And enjoy the wonderful, rich flavors of pure fats. And you know,
Yeah.
I got to follow your recipes more because I just subscribed. I did not realize I was not subscribed to your YouTube.
No worries.
So
Yeah.
yeah. But so would you say most of the video content there is going to be pushing a lot more recipe generation
Well, based on the
until
feedback
until the
of
book?
yes, until the book, but based on the feedback, which I take very seriously of my subscribers, the community on YouTube specifically, I do see a lot more positive feedback and just overall joy from them when I post recipe videos. I
Okay.
also love doing interviews, but I've been heavy on the recipes for good reason. It's just because people love it, and that's why
Okay.
I'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, I'll go ahead and cue that up one more time as we start closing
Oh,
the show out here because
thank
you have a
you.
whole playlist there, recipes from Bella's Cafe.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the playlist.
yeah.
Yep.
So you've got there's 15 recipes right there. So
Yeah. Thank you.
there's the ice cream.
That's right. I did it. I did an ice cream. That's right.
And a pudding. That's
Hmm.
interesting. And then there's the pizza. All right, so I'll be able to prove to my wife I'm gonna make it, and I'm
Have
not gonna
fun.
tell her. I'm not gonna
Oh
tell
my
her
God.
because she loves chicken.
Perfect. Good
So I was like,
idea.
oh, chicken crust. There
Ooh.
we go. I like this.
Good luck.
Well, you've already given up so much time today. I'm excited for you. Congratulations on moving to Vegas. Was that also new this year? You said.
Very new, just a
Okay.
few months back. Thank
Okay.
you. Yeah.
Um, you're gonna love it. So because you have access that airport, you can just go anywhere with your amount of extensive travel coming up. That's
Um,
gonna be exciting.
awesome.
So,
Thank you.
well, listen,
Yeah.
I have my guest co-host help close out the show,
Oh, wow.
and since you have such a crazy history, and obviously you're new ones today, for years I was just asking people to help give us some final words to close things out, and then over the years it became a legacy message. So
Hmm.
I think you've been at this long enough where you can start realizing, you don't have to call it a legacy message. I look at it as once I started my charity and I wrote my book and everything else, I said, what are we leaving behind in this world? Like what is symbolic of who we are today, where our brand is at today, and what are we trying to leave behind? So is there something all encompassing, especially now that you've gotten married and moved, a lot of big moves for you. So
Hmm. Hmm.
2025 and forward, like what's standing out to you and what if people try and follow you and start to see who you are?
Wow. Yeah. I literally have goosebumps after hearing you say all of that. This year, I think the main theme of my life, and I did turn 28 a few months ago, so I feel like I'm still a baby. I get to hang out with so many great carnivores, and just this conversation alone, I learned so much from you. I feel like this year for the theme, it should be spread kindness and love, and question everything. So these two things I find I've been doing every single day. Spread love and kindness above all, and at the same time question everything. Every single day I learn something new, but that's because I keep an open mind. Even carnivore things, there are videos where I'm like, automatically like, well, make all these assumptions. But then I keep the open mind and I always walk away learning something new. And so I hope people who listen to your episode, they question everything. They are okay with unlearning things that they thought were facts. And they spread love and kindness. That's what I
I
want,
love that.
want to share. Yeah.
Well said. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, hang tight. I'll give you a proper goodbye off the air. Love and kindness, question everything. I've actually said that for a long time. Please question everything. There's nothing wrong with it. Find what aligns with you and what works for you. And I'm going to remind you guys again in the show notes, you'll have all the links we talked about today. We talked about the Steak and Butter Gang. We talked about our YouTube. We talked about our Instagram. There is a specific playlist for her recipes. I'll definitely be excited to see when this book thing comes out. We'll have to get you back on and talk more about that. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you, Bella, for the time today. Remember, we're here to fuel your health, your business, and your lifestyle. And if you're not following Bella, you're missing out on a huge load of fuel for your health, your nutrition, your exercise, your way of life, your kitchen, even if you're not into biting off entire chunks of butter sticks. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in. Remember, you too can live the fuel, and we'll talk to you guys again soon.